What if the thing making your house smell clean is actually one of the least natural things in it? That little spray bottle on the counter, the plug-in in the hallway, the wax melt on the warmer, most of it is just covering stale air with a fake version of freshness. Meanwhile, the real answer has been sitting quietly at garden centers, farm stands, and greenhouse benches this whole time. Living plants. Plants that don't just scent a room, but actually change it. Plants that clean the air, soften the space, lift the mood, and make a home feel lived in, loved, and alive. So, if you're into practical living, natural wellness, and building a home that works with nature instead of against it, make sure you're subscribed, because this kind of old-school useful knowledge matters now more than ever. And once you start paying attention to it, you can't unsee it. We've been trained to think fresh comes from a can. Like clean air is something manufactured in a lab, pumped full of mystery fragrance, and sold back to us in plastic. But people knew better for a very long time. Palaces, courtyards, porches, kitchens, sleeping rooms, bathhouses, temples, they were filled with plants for a reason. Not just because they were pretty, because they changed the whole feeling of a place. That's the part modern life forgot. A truly healthy home doesn't just look nice, it smells alive, it feels breathable, it calms you down without trying so hard. And some plants do that better than any store-bought product ever could. So let's walk through 20 indoor plants that can outdo artificial air fresheners in every way that actually matters, from subtle fresh air workhorses to the kind of blooms that stop you in your tracks. We're starting strong with jasmine because, of course we are. If fragrant plants had royalty, jasmine would be wearing the crown. It's soft, sweet, rich, and somehow both comforting and a little bit exotic at the same time. The kind of scent that makes people pause mid-sentence and ask, "What is that?" And the beauty of jasmine is that it doesn't just smell good, it changes the mood of a room. Put one near a bedroom window, or let it spill from a basket in the living room, and suddenly the whole house feels gentler by evening. That's the magic of it. It blooms like it has something to say. And if you give it bright light, a little support, and a cool rest in winter, it rewards you like an old friend who never shows up empty-handed. Then there's gardenia. And gardenia does not do subtle. This plant enters a room like it knows exactly how beautiful it is. Creamy, deep, lush, almost velvety in the air. It's one of those scents that feels expensive, even when the plant itself wasn't. There's a reason people have prized gardenias for generations. They create atmosphere. Real atmosphere. Not fake, tropical linen or moonlit blossom nonsense. Actual presence. Now, gardenias can be fussy. Let's just tell the truth. They like humidity, steady care, bright indirect light, and they absolutely will complain if you ignore them. But when a gardenia blooms in the dead of winter and fills your home with that rich perfume, worth it. Completely worth it. Now here's one that surprises people, hoya. A lot of folks know hoya as that easygoing trailing plant with thick waxy leaves. But when it blooms, it turns into something else entirely. Those little clusters of star-shaped flowers look almost too perfect to be real, and the scent can lean warm, sweet, even chocolatey depending on the variety. It's one of those plants that sneaks up on you. You grow it for the foliage, then one day it flowers, and suddenly you understand why people get obsessed. And the best part? Hoya is not high drama. It's tough, forgiving, happy to be left alone a little. For people who want beauty without babysitting, that's a strong trade. Then we have peace lily, which may not be the first plant you think of when you hear the word fragrance, but that's exactly why it deserves a spot here. Peace lily doesn't try to perfume the whole room like a fancy bloom. It brings something better, a kind of quiet, clean freshness. The kind that makes the air feel less tired, less heavy, more breathable. If jasmine is romance and gardenia is luxury, peace lily is that deep exhale your house needed. It's also one of the easiest plants to read. It droops when thirsty, perks right back up, and keeps going. That alone makes it practical. It doesn't just decorate a room, it improves it. And right beside it in the practical category is spider plant, which might be one of the most underrated houseplants on Earth. No, it's not flashy. No, It's not going to hit you with some dramatic floral cloud, but you know what it does do? It helps build the kind of air that smells naturally good, fresh, neutral, alive. Spider plant is the sort of plant every homestead-minded person should respect because it quietly gets the job done. No fuss, no diva behavior. It survives, multiplies, makes babies constantly, and just keeps cleaning up the space around it. Honestly, it's the cast iron skillet of houseplants.
Then there's snake plant, which is about as close as you can get to a houseplant with a work ethic. Upright, tough, unbothered, hard to kill. Perfect for bedrooms, hallways, and all those spots where other plants tend to sulk. Snake plant contributes that faint, clean green edge to a room, but what really makes it valuable is how steady it is. This is not a plant that needs applause, it just shows up and does the night shift. If you're the kind of person who appreciates useful things over flashy things, snake plant belongs in your home. Pothos is another one people underestimate because it's common, but common doesn't mean useless. Sometimes common means reliable. Sometimes it means generations of people already figured out it works. Pothos trails beautifully, grows fast, handles neglect, and makes a room feel fuller, softer, and more alive almost immediately. It has that lush green energy that makes a space smell less closed off and more lived in. It's the kind of plant that turns sterile corners into something human. And if you're building a home around resilience and comfort, that matters more than people think.
Now let's talk about dracaena, because this is where air cleaning function starts meeting serious visual impact. Dracaena has that tall, architectural look that makes a room feel finished. It brings height, structure, and a clean, tropical feel. Some varieties bloom rarely indoors, but when they do, the fragrance can be shockingly sweet. Even when not in bloom, dracaena earns its keep. It adds life in a bold way. It tells the eye, and maybe the nervous system too, that this room isn't dead space. It's living space.
English ivy comes in with a totally different personality.
Cooler, crisper, a little old world. This is the plant that feels like it belongs in stone cottages, bathroom windows, and old garden walls. It trails, climbs, softens edges, and lends a room that faint, herbal freshness that reads as truly clean rather than artificially perfumed. If you've ever noticed how musty air seems to cling to certain rooms, ivy is worth a second look. It thrives in cooler spaces, hangs beautifully, and brings that old herbal household energy with it.
And halfway through, we have to stop on lavender.
Because lavender may be one of the most useful fragrant plants ever welcomed into a home. This is not just a scent, it's practically a whole philosophy. Lavender says, slow down, breathe, put the kettle on, get back to basics. It has that dry, herbal, clean scent that somehow manages to feel both grounding and refreshing. And it's useful beyond the pot too. You can dry it, bundle it, tuck it into drawers, hang it by the bed, use it in bath blends, keep it near a sunny kitchen window. Lavender is what happens when beauty and practical living shake hands.
Now one of the real hidden gems, scented geraniums.
These are fun, and honestly they deserve way more attention than they get, because instead of all the fragrance being in the flower, it's often in the leaves. Brush past them, and suddenly you catch rose, lemon, mint, spice, citrus, even coconut, depending on the variety. It's like having a whole little perfume cabinet growing on your windowsill. They're useful, they're charming, and they reward interaction. That matters. A good homestead plant doesn't just sit there looking decorative, it invites you into relationship with it.
Then we get to citrus, and this is where indoor growing starts to feel almost magical.
A blooming citrus tree in the house is one of those experiences that makes people grin without even realizing it. The blossoms smell bright, sweet, fresh, and clean in a way that immediately lifts the room. And then there's the obvious bonus, fruit, real fruit. That's what makes citrus such a satisfying plant to grow. It's fragrant, beautiful, and productive. It's not just there to look nice, it gives something back. That's the kind of plant self-reliant people tend to appreciate most.
Stephanotis, sometimes called Madagascar jasmine, brings a more elegant kind of fragrance. Clean, white floral, wedding bouquet beautiful.
This is the plant for people who want a room to feel memorable. It climbs, it blooms, and when it's happy, it perfumes the air with that unmistakable, special occasion scent. But here's the interesting part. When you grow a plant like that in your everyday space, you stop needing special occasions to enjoy beauty. That's one of the quiet gifts of plants. They make regular life feel richer. And then we arrive at one of the most fascinating on the list: fragrant orchids, especially the night-scented kinds. Most people think orchids are all looks and no smell. Not true. Some of them save their show for after dark. Imagine that. A plant that waits until evening, then begins releasing a fragrance strong enough to change the whole bedroom. That's not just impressive, that's theatrical. It reminds you that plants are not passive decorations. They are active, timed, responsive living things. They have rhythms, personalities, strategies. A night-fragrant orchid makes a home feel mysterious in the best way. Next comes Arabian jasmine, and this one has a deeper cultural life around it than many people realize. This is the jasmine of tea, garlands, ceremony, celebration. It's rich, heady, sacred feeling. The flowers may be small, but the fragrance is not. Arabian jasmine has that concentrated power some plants carry, like a little bloom somehow holding an entire summer evening inside it. It's the kind of plant that makes you want to float blossoms in a bowl of water, just because that feels like the right thing to do. By this point, it's worth saying something important. Not every plant on this list is here because it smells strong. Some are here because they create the conditions for good air. And that's where Chinese evergreen shines. Low light? Fine. Dark hallway? Fine. Tough corner of the house where nothing else wants to thrive? Fine. Chinese evergreen does the unglamorous but essential work. It helps take stale space and make it feel fresher, softer, less harsh. Think of it as one of the support beams in the house of good indoor air. And then we have palms, especially areca palm, which do something a lot of people overlook. They add moisture to the air. That matters. Dry air feels stale faster. It carries dust differently. It makes everything feel a little sharper and less comfortable. A healthy palm changes that. It softens the room. It raises the humidity. It creates that gentle tropical lushness that helps every other fragrance linger better and feel fuller. In other words, it helps the whole room breathe better. That's not a small thing. Boston fern does something similar, but with a totally different personality. Ferns feel ancient because they are ancient. They bring a woodland kind of freshness indoors, like the smell of green shade after rain. A good Boston fern makes a room feel cooler, cleaner, and more alive. Yes, it likes humidity. Yes, it wants consistent moisture. But if you've got a bathroom with decent light, a laundry room, or a cozy corner where you can keep the air from getting too dry, fern earns its place fast. It's one of those plants that changes the texture of a room as much as the smell. Now we're near the end, and these last two are unforgettable. First, eucalyptus. If there's a plant that makes you feel the concept of breathing space, it's eucalyptus. Clean, sharp, cooling, medicinal in the best possible way. Even a few stems can shift the feeling of a room. Grow it if you have the light, prune it often, and use those cut branches in vases or in the shower where steam can wake up the oils. Eucalyptus is one of those plants that reminds you fragrance can be functional. It can help you feel clearer, lighter, more awake. That matters in a home, especially in winter, especially in stuffy seasons. And finally, paperwhite narcissus, the winter miracle. This one deserves the closing spot because it does something emotionally powerful. It blooms when everything else feels asleep. When the days are short, the windows are shut, and the house starts to feel stale no matter how often you sweep it. Then, paperwhites bloom. Fast, easy, almost shockingly easy. A bowl, some pebbles, water, light. That's it. And then suddenly your room is full of this bold, sweet, unforgettable fragrance in the middle of winter. It feels like defiance, like a refusal to let the dark months flatten the spirit of the home. No wonder people have treasured them for ages. And that, really, is the bigger point of all this. These plants are not just decorations, they are tools, they are allies, they are part of building a home that supports your body and your mind instead of draining both. They give you beauty, yes, but they also give you atmosphere, cleaner feeling air, better moisture, seasonal rhythm, a reason to notice your space again.
That's the kind of thing self-reliant living gets right.
It's not always about doing more. Sometimes it's about choosing better. Replacing one synthetic habit with one living thing. Trading fake fragrance for a windowsill herb. A plastic plug-in for a blooming bulb. A stale corner for a palm, a fern, a vine, a pot of lavender in the sun. Because a home connected to the natural world does not feel the same as one sealed off from it.
It feels calmer,
Richer, more grounded, more human.
So the real question isn't whether plants are better than air fresheners.
Of course they are. The real question is which one you're bringing home first. Will it be jasmine by the bedroom, lavender in the kitchen, a fern in the bathroom, citrus by the brightest window in the house, paperwhites for winter, maybe a little combination, a practical layer of air-cleaning plants, plus a few fragrant stars that make the place unforgettable.
That's where it gets fun.
You stop thinking like a shopper, and you start thinking like a homemaker, like a grower, like somebody shaping an environment on purpose.
And that changes everything.
So tell me in the comments, which of these plants are you most excited to try first, and which one already earns its keep in your home? And if you enjoyed this, subscribe and stick around. There's a whole world of forgotten, useful, natural knowledge still waiting to be brought back into everyday life.